Today we're painting this, inspired by No Man's Sky. Let's get into it. To the thumbnail then, I'm thinking like a space guy with one of those 60 quintillion planets reflected in their visor. I figure we'll go like a deep inky blue for the space and a nice kind of burnt orange for the suit. Looking at some of the suits from the game and a real life spacesuit, I'm going to try and mash them together for this piece and we'll see what it looks like. Starting with the big old circle shape for the helmet, adding in the visor and the stuff that sort of holds it in place. There's no need to be perfect, just get something down you can work with. And we're looking at the suits in the game and the NASA ones, and they're kind of, well, chubby, for want of a better word. So we'll try and thicken everything up and make it all a bit out of proportion. Getting the right shape may be a bit of a pain, but we can always refine it on the canvas. I want to add some little sort of doodads and gizmos to the suit to try and make it look space-agey without overcomplicating it. I only have a week to get the painting done, and I don't want to get bogged down in loads of little detailed bits that take an eon to paint. We'll have the light mostly coming in from the front side with some low lights on the opposite edge, but we'll get into that later. Okay, I think that looks okay. Let's mix some paint. And it's just enough time for me to say, if you're enjoying this video, consider hitting like. It helps a lot get my stuff out into the algorithm. Now back to the painting. With this painting, we're using ultramarine, cadmium red, white, and a lemon yellow to begin with. I want to get space in first, just so I can get an idea of how light or dark I need to make the suit. So we'll mix cadmium red and ultramarine, heavy on the ultramarine, lighter on the red, and that'll keep that inky space colour. We're just going to give the whole thing, apart from our spaceman, a nice kind of thick coat of our inky black. I'm using a flat edge so we can cut in around the Explorer. And I'm adding a bit of white to our space mix, and we'll use that to scumble in some nebulas. Nebula? Not sure of the plural on that. Space clouds. And that'll help break up the black a bit. Now we have a base, let's add some stars to the mix. I'm using gambling oil medium to thin it down, and the colour is mostly white with a tiny touch of lemon yellow. We want this to really be thin, the sort of same consistency as raw eggs, I guess. And with a flat edge, I'm taking our loose paint and running my thumb over the bristles. That'll give us the illusion of a starfield. Ugh, starfield. It's messy, but it gets the job done, and I recommend using non-toxic medium rather than turpentine for this. You don't want that stuff on your skin. Or better yet, wear gloves. I probably should have worn gloves. We'll go heavy with the stars in some places, lighter in others, and mainly try not to overdo it. And that looks like starry space. So, now to our Explorer. I'm starting with the visor. I'm just using the space mix to get the overhang shadow in. It's like a fishbowl, so it'll get a bit lighter as we head away from the edges. I'm going to blend our planet into the dark and add a stark highlight along one side of it so we get that transition between day and night going on. Adding a bit of lemon yellow to the ultramarine gives us a sort of sea-like colour. I'm blending the stark highlight into the space mix and I'm hoping, perhaps in vain, that will give us a sort of atmospheric corona. And then to add all the spacesuit stuff in, so we'll get a highlight down the side of the visor. That'll help it look a bit more round and give us that fishbowl thing we're going for. And then a really bright point of light up in the opposite corner. And hopefully, it's starting to look a bit more like glass. I'm pretty happy with the visor, so I'm digging out my nail technician's brush to start painting all of the little lines in. It's the most finicky bit, so getting it done with a small brush early on will allow us to focus on the larger bits of the suit without worrying about losing those lines. To give us the illusion of the helmet being round, we'll use our dark mix towards the back of the helmet and then get lighter and lighter as we travel forward. It looks a bit like a basketball at the moment, probably the colour, so we'll go really, really light, almost pure white along that edge to make it look a bit more metallic. Nice dark orange line to give us a ledge along the bottom, and then we can start getting the helmet in as a whole, just following the same rules as the top. The thing with painting stuff like this is, you need to imagine where the light is going to hit it and where it's not. It takes a bit of practice, but you kind of get a knack for it after a while, and it makes the whole thing a lot easier. Like most things, practice is always key. To make our spacesuit nice and thick, we'll add some catch lights along the edge, and that's just to make it nice and chonky. Adding in all these little sockets and vents and stuff like that as we go along, and then we can paint them in the same lighting conditions that the rest of the helmet's in. Now, low lights. They can add a real nice punch to a painting. I've added them along the darker side, and a tip with low lights is to really dull them down. I'm using ultramarine with a dab of white because we don't want them as light as the highlights, but it just helps bring it forward a little bit. The helmet is nearing completion, and we can start thinking about the rest of it. I'm using directional brush strokes for the neck part, nice and loose. It's just to give it some form, and then we'll add some lighter tones to make it look like it's maybe a rubber airtight seal of some kind. I know nothing about spacesuits, as you can probably tell. Then we're going to loosely put everything else in. It's not too detailed, it's only there to complement the work done on the helmet, which is the focal point. And all that's left to do now is sign it. And that's the finished piece, our chunky little explorer, ready to land on another one of those endless planets. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed this mashup of pixels and paint, consider subscribing and let me know what I should play then paint next in the comments below. Until next time, farewell.